What if the nightmares you thought you'd left behind weren't just dreams? What if the creature you feared as a child found its way back into your reality? Emma and Jake thought they escaped the floor crawler, but they were wrong. The events at the old school should have been the end of it. Emma and Jake thought they'd buried the terror of Melancholy Mountain and its twisted character, the floor crawler. But evil doesn't vanish that easily. As they tried to move on, the past found ways to creep back in, scratching at the edges of their sanity and forcing them to confront an even darker truth. A year had passed since the night at the school. Emma had moved to a small town far from her childhood memories, throwing herself into her work to forget. Jake, on the other hand, had retreated into isolation, his life dominated by paranoia and fear. They hadn't spoken since the night they saw the floor crawler emerge from the screen. One evening, Emma received a package with no return address. Inside was a single VHS tape labeled Melancholy Mountain, Special Episode. Her hands trembled as she stared at it. She hadn't seen a VHS tape in years, and she didn't own a player. She called Jake, who answered after several rings, his voice strained. "I got a package," she said. Jake's response was immediate. "Don't watch it." "You got one too?" "Yes. Burn it, Emma. Don't let it in." Her heart raced. "Let what in?" Jake's voice cracked. "It's not just a show. It never was." Unable to shake the curiosity, Emma found an old VHS player at a thrift store. That night she hesitated before pressing play. The screen flickered and the familiar theme song began. The cheery tune from her childhood felt twisted now, like a sick joke. The episode started like any other, the adult actors in poorly made costumes frolicking on the mountain. But something was off. The colors were muted, the characters' movements jerky, almost desperate. And then came the floor crawler. It moved differently this time, more fluid, almost lifelike. Its dark eyes stared through the screen, locking onto Emma. She couldn't look away. Suddenly, the screen went black. A voice whispered, barely audible, "You brought me back." Her TV shut off. Emma sat in stunned silence, the room's shadows feeling heavier, alive. A scratching sound came from her hallway. Slowly, she turned her head. Long, faint scratches now marked her wooden floor, leading from her front door to the edge of her couch. She called Jake. "It's here," she whispered. Jake's response was grim. "It's everywhere now." He explained what he'd discovered. Melancholy Mountain wasn't just a forgotten kids' show. It was a gateway. The floor crawler wasn't a character, it was a vessel, a creature that fed on fear, using the show to reach those who watched it. By remembering, by seeking it out, they'd invited it back. "We have to destroy it," Jake said. "All of it." The two decided to meet at Jake's place. He had tracked down other recipients of the VHS tape through online forums, discovering a disturbing pattern. Everyone who watched it experienced strange phenomena: scratching sounds, shadowy figures, and missing pets or belongings. A few had disappeared entirely. When Emma arrived, Jake had compiled a makeshift plan. The show's original set was built in an abandoned studio outside town. That's where it started. If we're going to end this, we need to go there. The studio was a crumbling relic from the past, its facade weathered and broken. Inside, the air was thick with decay, and the walls were lined with rotting props and costumes. In the center of the room was the familiar set of Melancholy Mountain, eerily intact despite the disrepair around it. They searched for anything that could sever the floor crawler's connection to their world. In the control room, they found reels of film labeled with episode titles. Jake pulled out a lighter. "If we burn these, it might break the link." As he flicked the lighter, the room filled with a low, guttural sound. The floor crawler emerged from the shadows, its limbs impossibly long, its dark eyes burning with malice. It moved faster than they remembered, its movements no longer confined to the awkward crawl. Emma screamed as it lunged at Jake, who threw the lighter into the pile of film reels. Flames erupted, illuminating the room in an orange glow. The creature recoiled, its form flickering like a distorted image on a faulty screen. "Keep it burning!" Jake shouted. The fire spread quickly, consuming the reels and the set. The creature let out a piercing shriek, its body convulsing before dissolving into a cloud of black smoke. As the flames reached the control room, Emma and Jake barely escaped, coughing from the smoke and trembling with adrenaline. Outside they watched as the studio burned to the ground. For the first time in months, the air felt lighter. Emma and Jake parted ways again, vowing never to speak of Melancholy Mountain or the floor crawler. They deleted their accounts, destroyed their phones, and tried to rebuild their lives. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, Emma wonders if it's truly over. She'll catch a faint scratching sound or see a shadow move where it shouldn't, and her heart will race. Because some things can't be burned away, and some monsters never stop crawling. Subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night.